Today I'm privileged to have a chance of interviewing one of the most renowned scholars of literature at Kabarak University, Dr. Ndonye. Please, sir, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Dr. Mike Ndonye. Of course, thank you for your kind words of saying I'm a renowned literature scholar. Yeah, I did my first degree was in literature major at University. Although later I ventured into mass communication. So now I'm more of a media and communication scholar in practice. So that is what I am. I head the Department of Mass Communication at Kabarak University. Yeah, and I like things in literature. Wole Soyinka is the thespian. Okay. Remember also where Wole Soyinka is coming from. Wole Soyinka and Chinua Achebe, both of whom come from the University of Ibadan.
Ibadan, yes.
And remember,
they also went to
do
their masters in England.
Yeah, they came from the Department of English and Languages.
Yeah.
So, if you look at Chinua Achebe, is English. English is simple.
Simple, but very good, very sweet.
The Wole Soyinka was coming from theater.
Yes.
Social science.
Yeah.
The other one is coming from an art.
Yes.
English. By the virtue of their foundation,
yes,
you expect Wole Soyinka to be more complicated.
Yeah.
Why? Because writing theater, writing for the screen, for a play, it requires a lot of stylistic devices.
It's like
and
poetry.
A lot of innovative and creative writing.
Yeah.
On this other side, the work of Chinua Achebe is to want to communicate. So he is writing what
like a journalist.
Communicative language.
Yeah.
The other one is a stylistic language.
Yeah.
They cannot be the same. You look at Christopher Okigibo. Hey, Christopher Okigibo, we usually used to say, is a mystical writer.
Okay.
We don't know even where he was unless you start understanding what he meant.
Even you being a scholar, sometimes you find it.
Even you being a scholar, you study Christopher Okigibo, you study what he is writing. It's like he's writing dreams.
Yeah.
Like
his own imagination.
Yeah. So like his poem, is it called the Hell's Gate or Heaven's Gate or whatever it is called? It's a very complicated poem.
Yeah.
So it's mystical.
Yeah.
You have even to guess what he meant.
Yeah.
So him was a different thing because he was also dealing with his own personal issues.
Okay.
That is why he would shift from being a writer and then go to war, take a gun. Was a complicated man.
Okay.
It's different also from Chinua Achebe and whatever. So the foundation of these writers was very different.
Okay.
And there is no way I can compare them. For me, I say we cannot compare writers.
Okay, Chris Wanjara also concurs with you. He says that you should not write like another writer.
Yes.
Have your own style.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think, what is experimental writing according to in creative writing?
Of course, experimental writing is where you break the rules.
Okay.
Of course, you experiment with different styles. Like Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Ngugi wa Thiong'o has done.
Okay.
Ngugi wa Thiong'o has been experimenting even with the literature itself. He's written books, Jamba Nene and the Flying Bars, children's literature. I think where Ngugi wa Thiong'o has never ventured into the play is actually poetry.
Yeah. You see, when I started writing myself, my first book is known as Egos of Muigai. It's a historical novel. Then I tried to write, the next one was a collection of essays, starting afresh. I wanted to cut across all genres. Then I wrote a collection of poems. And then I have written a collection of short stories known as In the Castle of My Heart. You see, I was ambitious to cut across all genres.
It is
the only thing I haven't done is to write a play. But I can write because I just compare what others are doing.
Yeah.
It's just another way of communication.
Which is possible, but it is hard actually succeed in all the genres.
Yeah, you need to specialize.
You need
at
to
some
specialize.
point.
You need to specialize. Actually captured in their literature, so such that even their leaders, like if you go to Senegal, you realize that movement like Negritude that used to actually inspire the poetry. Even the president himself was a literature, a creative writer, doing a lot of poems on negritude and trying to change the world through literary work. Now, these two, unless now someone from education arts now comes now to scholarship in literature, there are some who come with a lot of passion, and they learn at master's level, and they do self-learning and upgrade to a level where now they can be good literary critics. But as for literary creative writers, you know, a creative writer is born. You don't have to be taught to be a creative writer.
That's what Professor David Cook said.
A creative writer is born.
Yeah.
But a literary critic is made. You have to learn. It is a skill. You have to get the tools to be able to analyze a book and say this is okay. Although every critic, of course, is limited by where they come from, by their experiences. Like just I have mentioned the two, Simon Gikandi and Wajala. So they are different. So it is easier for a person who has done literature and their foundation was education arts. To be actually a creative writer. It is easier. And that is why you notice, even in Kenya, most creative writers, you actually find them actually being teaching in high schools and also even in primary.
That is true.
But it is rare to find a creative writer at the university. Very rare. But literary critics, they are at the higher level, higher education level.
You teach at the university? But of course, you went through secondary school as a student.
Exactly.
Can you tell that teachers who teach literature in secondary school are competent enough? Do they prepare these young ones who are joining the Department of Literature well, or you think there's something lacking in them?
Of course, there are many things that that go against that. Number one, they are actually taught how to teach literature. So they do a good job. But remember, there is a competition at high school, competition of career paths, sciences, arts. So, as much as the literature teachers in high school, because they teach both literature and English, as much as they can try, there is also the issue of perception. Because in Kenya, for example, we pursue our education, and whatever we pursue is synonymous to our career. So they are looking at the prospective employer. Where am I going to be employed? You know, literature and languages is an art and social science combined. So then, if you do literature, you must be a person who is prepared to enter into creatives, to enter into writing. To apply your knowledge. And there are very few industries that employ writers. Of course, we have the media, like for me now, I am in media, I write. And that knowledge really helps me because I cannot get tired of writing. But I remember also, the reason why I told you I was not a very good person, I remember even my professor, Professor Ilieva at Egerton University. One time we tried to write. And I remember she told me, Donya, I think you can never be a good writer. She told me that. And actually that gave me an impetus now to do more. Until it was not a threat. She was right. She was right because I was trying to learn how to write.
You had the ambition.
I was trying to learn how to write, but you cannot learn how to write. If you want to be a writer, write.
Very good. And you read.
So after reading, write. After reading how to write a good whatever, you are supposed to write. And when I realized that, that is when I started writing. Because writing is a skill. Did you start improving your reading culture? Of course, no, I was reading. Because I was doing literature major and philosophy major. I was a person of books. But that reading could not help me. What could help me is to get a paper and a pen and write. because now that gave me now the skill that I need. I had the talent, the passion, but you need to do practice.
Now you have joined the university.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me about your experience, interaction with scholars of literature as they taught you. Was it different from what you had learned in secondary school?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, when I came to the university, I met scholars like Professor Ilieva. I met scholars like Kamau Agor. I met many other scholars, including the guy we call Adrian Onyando, who is a creative writer. He taught me creative writing. And of course, I was also privileged to meet the likes of Marjorie Olude. Although she was a bit old, I remember I wrote her a poem, but she would talk to us and encourage us to be scholars in literature. We were not many, we were 7.
Okay.
That is why it's not popular.
Yeah.
Maybe because of the perception. So most people end up in those areas where there are of course other there are job opportunities. That was what they say.
Yeah.
But apart from those whom we met physically, I met through reading many other scholars, both literary critics and also creative writers.
Can you remember maybe
Africa.
some important issues maybe you learned from your professors? What advice did you get from them in becoming a good writer or a literary scholar? What did they tell you? What you remember?
Of course, one thing we had to group with at the university when we were being introduced to literature. Number one is you had to read widely. I remember like Professor Ilieva would come with a booklet. I remember the first time we met, he was teaching us literary criticism, and she came with a 24-page course outline. And because we were 7, every one of us is given around 10 books to read. 10 books, different books. And you are supposed to read all of them within 2 weeks. You are supposed to read all of them and come and present whatever is there, depending on the theme you are taking. If you are doing gender, you concentrate on gender issues in this. If you are doing, for example, politics, political philosophy, if you are doing economic, if you are doing, for example, colonialism, neo-colonialism, if you are doing psychoanalysis, you concentrate on that, and you can.
And I would like later you define some of those theories. Because they seem a bit bombastic.
Of course, there are others like structuralism,
deductionism,
the sign and the signifier that we used to learn. And this was a shock to us. That wow, we thought this thing was simple, so we never have something like character analysis.
Character development.
Plot. We didn't have things like stylistic devices.
At university?
No. No, we didn't have such things. We used to dig into deeper
aspects
issues.
of it,
Learning society, literature as a social science, not as an art. So we would meet many, of course. I met many others from across Africa, in the world, and even some that are there, some are not there. Of course, so I met a lot of writers and scholars at the university.
When you reflect, maybe in South Africa, East Africa, and West Africa, because this is the places where maybe during post-colonial Kenya, that's where, Africa, that's where most writers came from. Can you maybe mention some of the writers you know of that canonical period? The famous writers.
The first generation writers. Of course, so transforming our creative resources so that we put them into a form that is acceptable in the current marketplace is the best thing that literary writers and literary critics can ever do. That realization is very important, and also So all that is driven by the commercial aspect. You cannot separate commercial aspect because it is the only thing that will keep our literature in whatever form sustainable.
What do you tell media managers? Do you tell them to entertain such programs?
Of course, actually all what runs in media is works from creatives. So media cannot run without creatives. News cannot sustain media. Actually media is sustained by what we call features.
Yes.
And features are half works of creative writing, are half journalistic.
All right.
Yeah. So actually even entertainment industry, entertainment media, the film.
Yeah.
That's the work of creative.
How do you see the future of literature in Africa and the world at large? Is it, does it have a good future?
The digital economy is driven by creatives.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a very bright future, but in the current form.
Very good.
We just need to leave the form, shed the older skin, and put on the new skin. That is fit in the digital world, and we will move forward.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Thanks to you.